Manifestations of supposed racism in Scottish education. Hashtag academia so white. Without a clear understanding of critical race theory, even the most well-meaning efforts are likely to fail. 5 years ago, I embarked on a part-time master's in education studies, and at long last a few months ago, I've submitted my final assignment. I chose to analyse the ways in which Scottish education policies promote anti-racist education. Although that topic may sound rather dry, I was surprised to discover how some education policies are actually implicated in white supremacy by allowing racist outcomes to persist in education. Racist outcomes, oh, this will be good. This is riveting stuff. A political, economic and cultural system in which whites overwhelmingly control power and material resources. So in the context of Scotland, homogenous or formerly homogenous country, mainly built up of ethnically Scottish people, give or take some EU nationals and whatnot. Stands to reason that a country like that would have whites in positions of quote-unquote power, you know. A similar theme can be seen elsewhere in the world, in fact. Japan, Singapore, Israel, in fact everywhere. But on a serious note, I mean, these people's infatuation with the word power, or what they believe power to be anyway, goes a long way in really undermining the horseshit facade that they tried to hide behind. You know what I mean? You're not oppressed, you're not marginalised, and you're not fooling anyone with the self-declared title of anti-racist. Conscious and conscious ideas of white superiority are widespread, and relations of white dominance and non-white subordination are daily reenacted. Entitlement, aye? You can talk. Sense, white supremacy, quote unquote, in education could manifest itself in various ways, could be the operative word. From the absence of people of colour in leadership positions, referring to power again, to the existence of covert racism. None of such manifestations have to result from ill-intentioned individuals, rather they would be a result of collective privileging of whiteness. So let me get this straight. It doesn't matter if somebody actually believes themselves to be superior because they're white. If there's a disparity and there's a vacancy for a power grab, you will assume that if a person of colour isn't slotted in there, it must be because of privilege and whiteness. That's a clear-cut example of white supremacy on full display. The anti-racist expert. The existence of white privilege in the UK has been proven, apparently. First I've heard. I thought it was still just a theory. A baseless theory at that. I stand corrected. Cal Want Bhupal has unearthed a gem. According to her, whiteness does not merely refer to a person's skin colour. Oh no, it goes deeper than that. Like, whiteness is not just an individual identity. It's embedded in different institutions, such as universities, school and the media, has been the predominant identity. Imagine my fucking shock. In such white spaces, whiteness and white Western practices are the norm in a white Western country. Academia is so white. As I really enjoyed working on this research, seeing it come to an end left a feeling of bittersweetness. I wanted to continue this type of academic research on anti-white education, and I thought about pursuing it at PhD level. However, I also have my reservations about academia, as it is an environment that tends to be reserved for the most privileged. Now at least, I would rather invest more time and energy in working collectively from the grassroots and developing the anti-white Educator as an accessible platform to learn from, than undertake another 5-year part-time course. With that in mind, it won't stop me from engaging with research, developing my own work independently and admiring those academics and students of colour whose existence in academia is a form of resistance. Back on my 70-page dissertation, I have attempted to make more accessible the section which describes the multiple manifestations of racism in Scottish education, at a time when many are still offended to hear that their nation is racist. I hope this breakdown of racism builds stronger bridges of understanding and thus, resistance. Fucking delusional. Although I am sure there are other ways of exploring and defining the racist outcomes of Scottish education, this first part of my blog post examines overt racism and covert racism. Racism is the first thing people tend to think about when it comes to racism. Overt racism is what is typically classified as a racist incident, and it tends to be anything that has to do with racist hate speech and hate crime. It's the type of racism where the perpetrator's intentions to cause harm are obvious and unquestionable. 2011 to 2016, there have been just under 3,000 reported racist incidents in Scottish schools. While the government claims these numbers have dropped in recent years, we have yet to see the evidence to support this, and on the contrary, there's been no evidence to your claims that there is a lot more than goes reported. But it doesn't stop you peddling that BS, does it? In England, there was a surge of supposed racist incidents that were serious enough to lead to school exclusions between 2016 to 2017. There was reason to believe, but it was never proven, that this has a lot to do with the hostile environment created by Theresa May, the same Theresa May that was allowing in record levels of non-EU migrants that you people never seem to talk about because it doesn't suit the narrative. The emboldening prejudice and bigotry caused by the Brexit. Oh, here we go again. In any case, we shouldn't simply be relying on reported racist incidents to determine how many of them actually take place. There are racist incidents that are so extreme that they shock everyone into reconsidering the state of racism in education. In order to ensure that these counter-narratives are not silenced and forgotten, here are a couple of significant ones. Lawrence. The murder of the Scottish Pakistani schoolboy Imran Khan by 4 white youths. Syrian refugee Shabazz Ali, stabbed in Edinburgh by a white Scottish teenager. Another Syrian refugee, Jamal, who was brutally attacked and filmed by white teenagers in school grounds. Not the same kid that got water poured in his face, and the media all of a sudden assumed that the video in question was a video of a little boy being bullied because he was a refugee, and the boy that poured the water in his face was accused of waterboarding him, hounded out of his town. Mentioned, of course, in a little list of 4 examples, 2 didn't even occur in Scotland. What about Chris Donald? You know, the ethnically Scottish teenager that was dragged into a car by Muslims and taken to a quiet area where he was burnt alive. They did it was because he was white. Not going to mention that because it doesn't suit the narrative, no? What about all the rapes that are occurring across Europe? Huh? We could talk about that, or if mass underreporting of a lot of the things that the migrants and these so-called refugees get up to, but whenever there's a incident that you people can pounce on, you'll run with it, for all it's fucking worth. Known as microaggressions refers to a more subtle form of racism, such as stereotyping, alienation, misrecognition and invalidation, sometimes referred to as everyday racism, which is shown as a common daily experience for people of colour. One of the interviewed BAME pupils illustrates covert racism among young people. Just small things like you can't go anywhere without somebody making a comment or looking at you. Come on, the fuck? Friend said, that's the worst school you could ever go to, because it's all black. I was surprised. I was shocked that they would say that to me. Okay. More recently, groundbreaking research has emerged that a significant number of pupils in Scottish education experience this everyday racism and microaggressions to boot. Covert racism has a lot to do with alienation and the implicit racism of teachers and the curriculum. Wars where space invaders, race-gendered bodies out of places shown feelings of alienation are very common for academics of colour in white institutions. It should be surprising that it equally occurs when peoples of colour experience feelings of not belonging as a result of their skin colour, language, accent, country of origin, religion and or culture. It's common for them to be perceived as outsiders, even if they were born in Scotland. It doesn't matter if they were born in Scotland. If a Polish couple come over here and have a child, that kid is still Polish. Pakistani couple come over here and have a child, that child is Pakistani. The only semblance of Scottish passport might very well say they're Scottish, and they might have an accent to boot, but they're not Scottish, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's the point you people seem to miss. Who we are as people has to be deconstructed in order to make you feel better about yourself. He has supposedly spent 5 years doing all this groundbreaking research. It's pretty piss poor. This must be where it gets good, no? While racism in schools is often believed to stem from other pupils, pupils of colour reveal that teachers also display covert racism in their lessons. One interviewed pupil recounts their experience. It has to be true because he said so. It was geography and we were studying the third world. And the second teacher said, third world including Africa. Everyone was like slowly looking straight at me and I kind of felt awkward because I didn't know what was going on. And then I realised what she had said. She was making a poster and had the devil and an angel, and she had this white girl with fruit and a black family from Africa. So people think of it as, oh, just fuck off. One of my daughters was saying she wishes she was white. That is hurting, disappointing for me because I don't want her to be like that. I want her to be proud of her colour, proud of her culture. Her culture being the operative word, so it's okay for her to be proud of her culture, but we have to have ours deconstructed because apparently it's covertly racist. Don't see ask yourself this. Where are those stains in your curriculum? If you don't see the stains, which diverse perspectives might help you spot them? sometimes reflecting on our own personal experiences of education provides some practice at spotting those racist stains. Decolonising the curriculum is not a tokenistic fixed lesson plan, it's a radical shift away from the knowledge and practices valued by white supremacy. Often an insurmountable task to complete, it is definitely a skill that takes time to acquire. An effort to master the skills to become a modern day Bolshevik. By all means, countering extremism is important for the safety and security of a nation, our nation. However, it needs to be done in a critical manner, aka critical race theory BS. In a previous post, Hashim outlined the existence of anti-Muslim racism in Scotland. And it's a bleak picture. And I presume that Muslims don't have any ill feelings towards ethnically Scottish people, no. Just full of goodwill, are they? Research has shown that when white teachers do not question their whiteness and are unwilling of their role in systems of privilege and power, their teaching inadvertently reinforces racism. Oh, that's convenient. So the teachers need to be trained up by the anti-racist educators to recognise their whiteness, and only then, when they're broken, when that white guilt consumes them, and they buy into the Bolshevik bullshits on display, will you be able to fully indoctrinate the youth, fully incorporate this cancer